yeah, I'm doing a pre-titles scene for each review. Well, what I can say is I really, really liked this story on a rewatch. So, strap yourselves in for possibly the second best story of the season, Inferno. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to this review. Today we are looking at Doctor Who Inferno, the fourth and last story from Doctor Who Season 7. And at the end of my previous video I was saying that I wasn't certain whether this one was going to be one I loved or liked, because on the previous viewing I hadn't loved it, but I did like it. Well, on rewatch I really, really liked it. I thought it was a great story, and despite some little annoyances with some of the fascist characters in the parallel universe, I think, beside personal opinions on some people aside, and to be honest, they are necessary for the plot, then this is a pretty much near perfect story. I think just a little bit more, just a little bit less than Spearhead from Space. So, Inferno is probably objectively perfect. Subjectively, just a little bit off, but that's absolutely fine. I didn't think Spearhead from Space was subjectively perfect, but objectively it was. And subjectively I liked it, but I didn't love it. I thought, well, I liked it enough to give it a 10 out of 10, but but not loved it. It's not really one. Neither of them would be ones I would consider top 10 stories or top 20, but they'd certainly be very high in regard stories. And Inferno is pretty much the same way as Spearhead. That being said, both of them are the two highlights of the season. So the plot of Inferno is at the at a project area, supposedly top secret project called Inferno, or nicknamed Inferno by some of the people working there. The Doctor is experimenting with his TARDIS, using some of the energy, but he and many other people are worried about the Inferno project, as its leader, this scientist guy, he seems to be throwing caution to the wind and just letting it, just starting to make things worse and very dangerous for the thing. Admittedly, he does get touch the awkward liquidy goo thing that turns him into a Primoid, but before he does that, he's still a massive prick, or nitwit, as the Doctor calls him. Best insult in the series so far. And yeah, he's just a really dickish character, this Professor guy. Even before he touches the goo stuff that starts turning him into a Primoid, and it's causing him to get even more dickish. He's still a pretty horrible person. He's so insolent, so idiotic, so full of himself. He calls other people these names. He's had a go at the Doctor for just trying to help at some points, and he has a go at this other guy called Sutton and the Brigadier at one point. So, and especially this Minister guy, who is played by future Mr. Jago, Christopher Benjamin. Nice and odd. So, yeah, this scientist guy is a bit of an idiot, and he's pretty much the same, just more fascist in the alternative universe, although by that point we do see him turn into a Primoid there, so And so during the experiments with his TARDIS, the Doctor ends up in this parallel universe where everybody's a fascist, apart from Mr. Sutton, who's not quite there yet, and they'd probably get rid of him once they were done with him. But the project is nearly finished, and once it is ready, it prepares to set the universe that universe, or at least the Earth, in mortal danger, and they just have to help the Doctor get back to his other universe, and he goes on to save Earth from the destruction. So that's basically the plot of Inferno. So I still think it's a great story. I think it's a little bit too long. I think they spent quite a bit of time in parts 5 and 6 just standing around talking about what they're going to do, what can they do, what they can't do, what's happening. There's quite a lot of talking in part 5, part 6 that could have been cut down. Maybe this story could have been cut to 6 parts. But length aside, it's still a very good story and has some great moments. The cast is excellent. It is probably the best cast of the season, with the best actors for the supporting cast. I wouldn't say they're the best supporting characters, but the supporting cast is probably the best of the season. Sheila Dunn, if you remember from from season 6, is the voice of the Dominators and the computer in the invasion. She's back as a character in this story. This time she gets to actually be on screen as opposed to just being the voice. She plays Petra, and she's alright. She's a good character in her bits. I think Mr. Sutton's a very good character. I think he's really great in both universes, and that dickish professor. The actor does a really good job with such a terrible person, and he's actually more fun in the dictatorship world than in the other one. Because he's already a dictator, and with the scenes in the first 2 episodes, he's already a dick. But this time round, it's more fun, to be honest. It's a bit more fun watching this. Already he's bad enough, but now you've got to throw in the fact that he's a fascist working in a dictatorship. But he's actually just more fun. He's more enjoyable in that bit, and he also turns into a Primoid sooner, so that's a bonus. Speaking of which, halfway through the story, the Primoids start to become irrelevant. About part 4, part 5, there is very little need for them. They just forget about the Primoids, forget about the men turning into these hairy creatures, forget about all the dangers, and they're just focused on, in the fascist world, the Doctor causing trouble or trying to help, but they think he's causing trouble, and in the other universe, the Professor getting worse and worse, whilst Christopher Benjamin's character is diverted away, and then it ends up in a car crash. Whoops. But he makes it out alive, so yeah, part 4, part 5, they kind of ignore the Primoids for quite a bit of those episodes, especially in part 5. But then the threat comes back up a bit later on, and they become a bit more of a focus in part 6 and 7, along with the Doctor trying to save the world in part 7. He's back in our universe trying to fix it. And I actually do like the story structure. Parts 1 and 2 is focused in on our world, the experiments, all the problems there, the Primoids. Part 3, 4, 5 and 6 are in the parallel universe, with the first 2 kind of like a spy-esque adventure, espionage story, where the Doctor's standing in this fascist world where everything's causing problems. We've got really dickish versions of each character, especially the brigade leader. He's probably the next main villain after the Primoids, and possibly the alternative professor or dictator in the alternative universe. But I will say this: the alternative Liz starts to understand and believe the Doctor later on a bit sooner. I don't get, what is it with fascist and communist and just dickish soldiers and guards and shoving guns front, back or side in people every single time? I don't quite understand it. Is it just to represent that these guys are just bastards? Or is it something that the fascist or communist or dickish, just nasty people with nasty armies do with their prisoners? They just shove the gun in the backs every single time. Every couple of feet, they will shove the front of the gun or the back of the gun. I don't know, it's just something I noticed in some of these things. They will do that, and especially here where Benton and other guards in the alternative universe are just shoving parts of their gun into the back of the Doctor. And then parts 5 and 6 are trying to resolved trying to get the Doctor back and trying to not stop the impending doom, but trying to hold it back a little bit. Maybe not hold it back, but at least not trying to get to the Primoids. Become a Primoid, and then 7, back in our universe, Doctor fixes everything. Well, more or less. Set design, it looks really great. You've got it, and the locations, my goodness, this is probably the best use of locations in the entire season, and they've been taking advantage every story. It looks really great, and we've got some great cinematography. The only thing is that when the guns start firing, there is a bit of, in some bits, there's the screen, the picture kind of goes a bit odd at one point, but to be honest, that happens quite a bit often in these older stories. Case of Androzani, I think, at one point I think in the execution scene, has the footage just fuzzing a little bit when there's gunshots fired. I'm sure there's a few more cases, but it does this. Maybe it's just the cameras or the tape reacting to it, and it just goes a bit odd. Can't be helped. This story also has a bit more of a noticeable blue screen effects than the previous 2 stories. They had been used in the previous 2 stories, and they were certainly in Ambassadors they were noticeable. But I think this one it's a bit more. But to be honest, it's both. All of these stories have so far had great special effects and blue screen effects in the season. It's later stories that it's going to start getting a little bit iffy, if you know what I mean. And the practicals are also really great. And Havoc do really good stunt and action work, and it looks really well done. Overall, I think this story is not... I wouldn't say it's 100% perfect, but I would say that it came very close. I mean, the reason I don't consider it 100% perfect is I do get annoyed at those fascist arseholes. But to be honest, that's part of the plot, and I suppose maybe they're intending you to get annoyed. But other than that, and the fact that I do find it a little bit too slow in some places and a bit too long. But besides that, I think it is a really great and really good story. And I can see why people would consider this one of, if not the best story, or one of their favourites, or their favourites, possibly. So, yeah, I mean, it's like how I am with Tomb of the Cybermen, basically. People being fans of War Games, Spearhead and Inferno. It's like how I am with Tomb and a couple of other stories that are coming up later on the list, later in these reviews. So, Inferno, I'm going to give this story I decided, due to objectiveness, I'm going to give it a 10 out of 10. I don't quite consider it better than Spearhead from Space. I think that one I enjoyed a little bit more, personally, but I think that's personally a little bit better. But Inferno, I think, is easily a very close second for the season. I think it's a very good season finale. I mean, season finales have been pretty great, full stop, so far. And I think up until the Daemons next season, that's going to stay that way, at least. Yeah, I think I said this in one of the reviews, one of the finales, either Evil of the Daleks or War Machines or Wheel in Space. One of them, I said that we're going to have great finales until the Daemons, and then maybe have a drop the next season. I'm not a big hater on Time Monster. I like it more than some people, but I can see why people don't like that story. But more on when we get to that story. More on that story when we get to it, and the same for the Demons. So that's it from Inferno. That was great. That was really great. Brilliant way to end off season 7. And to be honest, I think I can safely say that season 7 is probably my second favourite classic Doctor Who season overall after season 25. But that's 18 seasons time. So, 17 now that we've finished season 7 and we're on season 8 next. But yeah, so considering season 25 is all the way at the other end of the classic era, then this is probably this is definitely my favourite season as of this point in the reviews. So that's it from my review of Inferno. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you guys next time. After the Season 7 ranking, I'll be taking a look at the first story from Season 8, Terror of the Autons. And I'm particularly excited about one thing about this story. Can you tell what that is? It's the Master! I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Nicholas Payne Retro YouTube channel. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to the fourth and final Doctor Who Season 7 review. I'm sorry. Hello ladies and gentlemen, Nick here, and welcome to my... it's... Oh, since that's more than half a classic season, more than half the classic era away, well, actually, almost 4 times, I should say, almost 4 times the classic this point of the classic season away. At this point, I mean, half the classic season's 13 seasons. So 13 from 7 would be 20. So yeah, okay. Between 3/4 and no, never mind. Hang on, So seeing that's all the way over in 1988, 89, and we've got loads. This is 7. We've got 15, 16, 17 seasons in between. Hang on. 15, 10, 15, I mean, 7 is 14, 21 is 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 15, 16, 17. Seeing there's 17 seasons in between, but that's all the way in but that's 17 seasons time. 18, sorry.